Yeah. Pa' mi gente, el original, el papá de los demás. Y pa' que no les quede duda, se los voy a deletrar. Soy el GR1ZLY, soldado mexicano al grito de guerra. Porta Loki, Witch, la Bochli, que a mí me vale verga. El mexicano es tan chingón, él escoge donde nace. Güero, ojos verdes, pero mi chica es mi sangre. Una fuerza imparable, la verdad innegable. Ese soy yo. Now let me welcome everybody to the Grizzly Show. Bienvenido a su podcast favorito desde la ciudad más fabulosa del mundo. Esto es el Grizzly Show. Muchas gracias, mi gente. Muchas gracias por estar aquí una vez más. I'm very excited with this new direction that we're taking the podcast. It's all about positivity, uplifting mi gente. You know, that's what I want to be about. And for our very first guest, you know, in this new direction is somebody that has inspired me, who I don't have a long time knowing, but I've learned a lot from, you know, and he's definitely not only a mentor, but a brother in recovery. And, you know, he had to be the padrino of this new direction that we're taking this podcast. With me today I simply know him as Vic. Introduce yourself.
What up? Yeah, Victor Resendez. No, that's
all
who
right.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let's start in the beginning, Vic. Where does Victor? Where was he born? You know, give me a little background.
Well, I always started telling my story with me. Siempre, I've always, was born in El Paso in the 90s. Now that I've been in my journey, if you will. My story don't necessarily start with me. My story starts with my mom and dad.
Okay.
My mom, for one, was born in Guerrero, Acapulco, Guerrero. Nice. My father, he was born in Juarez, Chihuahua. So it's my understanding, bro, que a mi mamá, she wanted to leave her little town.
Right.
So I'm thinking around 76, 77. Her mom told her, hey, you got to go. You got to figure something out. We're out here struggling. We're barely eating. And my mom was, I think, 19. So I can only imagine, a 19-year-old girl being told, hey, you gotta go up north.
Right.
And back then, crossing the border wasn't that difficult, from what my mom told me. So they did, she migrated up in the bus, or I think it was a train. Took a few days to get to Chihuahua. She crossed the border. And besides just bringing a bag of clothes with her, trajo muchos de she brought with her a lot of the things that she learned.
Okay.
Growing up.
Las enseñanzas.
Right. She brought all that with her. And she settled in El Paso. And my mom told me that she stayed in an abandoned car for about a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She stayed in an abandoned car for about a month. And then she ended up meeting some lady and started helping her out. And she ended up moving in as a live-in nanny.
Okay.
And, poco a poco, little by little, my mom started just working. She also mentioned that around that time, phones weren't everywhere.
Right.
Phones were hard to get back then.
Right.
So the only form of communication she had with her family back in Acapulco, in Mexico, was through letter.
Oh, wow.
And she lost the address. She lost a way to get a hold of her mom.
So for a lot of our young viewers out there, obviously there wasn't cell phones. And rural communities in Mexico, they didn't even have phones.
Right.
It's like, so you lose an address, all communication is cut off.
Right. So it took her about a year to get a hold of her family back home.
Wow.
Her mom actually thought she had died, bro.
Wow.
Yeah. So she finally finally got a hold of her mom and started communicating again. And by that time, she was already working at a restaurant as a mesera in El Paso.
Okay.
And she was doing pretty good. She had a little trailer and she was working. And then one night she went out. All right, she went out with her friends, and she must have came across this handsome guy, right? She came across this handsome guy en un baile.
Okay.
Right, so she came across this handsome guy, tall guy, pelo para atrás, bien vestidito. My dad was always dressing nice.
Yeah.
Because my dad lived across the border in El Paso, but he was a hustler. Él lavaba ventanas, cantaba en los bares. He would shine shoes. He would cross the border and however he could, he'd make a little money, go back home and give it to his mom or pay whatever he had to pay and then cross back over. But this particular weekend, he crossed over just to party. And I'm already knowing my dad was suited and booted, bro.
All right.
And that's how they met. They met out and about. They met each other. And they had, it's 4 of us, 4 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay. And where do you fall in that?
I'm the oldest one.
You're the oldest.
I'm the oldest one. And I remember living in that little trailer I told you about.
Okay.
Back home in El Paso. And just me and my mom and my dad. I got some memories. But then my brothers came around. My brothers were born, and things changed, of course. I mean, that was basically the nucleus of the family. We would go visit my grandmother from my dad's side, and back in Juarez. We just crossed the border.
Right.
It was easy access back then, and we would cross over and spend time with my dad's side of the family.
So right now there's a lot of... there's a lot of things going on, as far as immigration,
Right.
ICE, is cracking down, Trump is sending the National Guard, declaring a national emergency.
Right.
What are your memories as far as what was it like coming back and forth between Juarez and El Paso?
It was easy.
Yeah.
Just cross over, sightsee, Del Puente, Puente Negro, cross the border. You could tell the difference between El Paso, the United States, and Juarez. But also, as far as buildings and the way people lived, but the culture was a little bit more family oriented.
Okay.
Because that's what we relied on back in Juarez.
Right.
It was more about family.
Right.
It's about more about unity. So I didn't really experience the politics of what was going on around that time. I think when I got older, I did notice a lot of people running away from La Migra.
Right.
And we would tell them, váyanse para allá, go that way. And that was that was it.
Yeah.
It was easy to cross the border back then. My mom crossed the border. My dad crossed the border all the time. My cousins, my primas, everybody crossed the border like nothing. It's easy.
Right.
Compared to now.
Right, absolutely. And it's probably just gonna get tougher.
Absolutely.
It's like with the right strategy, or however you want to put it.
Right.
I think we're gonna get to a point, man, where our people are gonna keep coming over. I think right now the message that we could give our gente is not to panic. It's like a lot of people are scared. Mm-hmm. And I really believe, through the one that makes everything possible, God.
Right.
It's like I think we're gonna be okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I really believe that.
Right.
So gente, no se me desespere. We're gonna be all right. There's been a lot of politicians that have tried to keep our people down, and they haven't done it yet, and they're not going to.
Right.
So go ahead, Vic. So after that, what do you remember?
So just growing up in El Paso, and going to school. I think, I used to look back, bro, and I used to tell my story from the lens of a young boy being physically abused, neglected, and that right there, that experience coming from my mom. Because my mom, like I told you, she brought with her not only her ropa, but her parenting styles, the way her mom was towards her,
right?
Her parents towards her. She brought that with her, and that's how I was raised. And so, my mom was a great provider. I have 3 hot meals a day, a warm bed, a roof over my head, clean clothes. I didn't have no hoyos in my ropa, and so my mom took a lot of pride in providing.
Right.
And so I used to always be resentful towards my mom about my mom didn't show me affection. My mom didn't love me. You know, I always became resentful. Now I understand, bro, that it's a program, it's a system. You know, anytime parents migrate, and I can only imagine what she went through, having left her town at 19, crossing the border, trying to, you know, find her way at 20, having me at 21, meeting my father. That must have been tough. Right. And here she is trying to provide for not only me, but sending money back to her family.
Right.
You know, she would always go over there once a year, go back home and visit her family. To this day, she still does that.
It's totally on you. Would you like to elaborate? Like, what was it like in that house? Like, you know, as far as the negative, you know, the abuse, the neglect. Like, how did that manifest?
Well, I think that manifested around when I was about 10, 12 years old. You know, when my mom me pegaba, she used to physically abuse me. I was bad, of course, but I think si se pasa, you know, it's abuse.
Right.
You know, and it's easy for me to say, you know, my mom abused me, but I'm sure I brought that on my own.
Right.
You know? Pero when there's no affection, bro, now I know as a father myself, when there's no affection to balance that.
Okay.
You know, I think if you are going to discipline your kids, you also have to balance that out with love and affection.
Absolutely. And
when you don't, then if that becomes resentment.
Right.
You know, and at some point I started, you know, cuando me pegaba mi mom, I used to grab that belt. I used to block it out, and I said, I'm not going to cry. No voy a llorar.
Right.
Stop crying. And so around 13, I started running away.
Okay.
I started running away, and same thing with my dad. My dad también, you know, he physically abused me verbally. Now I know what it was, emotional abuse, you know.
Right.
I've had conversations with both, especially my mom, about that. And now she tells me, we've had a deep conversation one time. She said that, you know, she shared with me that growing up, she wasn't shown an affection, a drop. Me dijo así, no me enseñaron una gota de amor a mí.
Right.
When she told me that, bro, like, how can I not forgive my mom?
Right.
You know, hearing that.
Right.
You know?
Definitely. You know, so there was both parents present, right. You know, and from there, when do you guys come to Vegas after El Paso or?
No, so I'm about 12, 13 around this time. You know, I'm growing in the 90s. You know, this is 1990, 91, 92, right? And so I'm introduced to hip hop, rap, NWA, Ice Cube. You know, I'm introduced to gangster rap at this time. The movies, Bomba Honor, American Me, Colors come out.
Classics,
right? These movies, along with the music and the environment, bro, molded me. You know, those my Colors especially. I watched that movie all the time because it gave me an identity.
Right.
You know, now I'm hanging out with the cholos from the neighborhood.
Right.
I knew them, pero I wouldn't go hang out with them. I was too young.
Right.
I remember one time we were playing basketball in the park. And it took us about an hour to pick teams, basketball. And finally, we started playing ball, bro. And I noticed a van bust a U-turn.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a drive-by. Right? And everybody hit the ground. You know, I get up, I start running, I go run home. My mom's running towards us. ¿Qué pasó? They're shooting over there. So they're like, come home. And you know, my brother's running behind me. And, you know, we see the ambulance going and the police going. And we waited about 30 minutes and we heard that some people got shot. And then about an hour later, my dad wants to go to the grocery store. And so we drive. My dad también le gustaba el chisme.
Right.
So we drive through the park, and I don't see the ambulance is gone, the police is gone, bro. But what caught my attention at that time was the gang members, the homies.
Mm-hmm.
They were huddled up in a corner talking.
Órale.
And it made an impression on me, bro, porque when I drove by and I looked over there, I wanted to be there.
You wanted to be in the meeting.
I wanted to be in the meeting. I wanted to feel the love, the concern they have for whoever got shot. I wanted to be in the mix. I wanted to feel that sense of belonging.
Right.
I think from that moment, I started seeking joining the gang, hanging out with the guys from the gang and the guys that I looked up to. They became my role models. They became my father figures.
Right.
You know, and I started hanging out with them. I was around about 13, 14 when I got jumped into a gang.
Okay.
And back then in the 90s, from what I remember, it's more like L.A., right? I think L.A. and El Paso at that time were almost the same, right? In the sense that in El Paso, bro, you used to drive around and used to see cholos hanging around in the corners with the walls tagged up.
Right.
Right, and if you go to one neighborhood, that's your neighborhood, and then you go to the store over here, that's another neighborhood.
Yeah. A lot like LA. Yeah.
A lot like LA. And then you go to school, there's like 10 different gangs right there.
Right.
So I didn't make it. I made it all the way. I flunked the 8th grade twice, and I got suspended, expelled. You know, I was never in trouble with the police, just fights at school. And, you know, I was playing baseball, I was playing football, and I always thought to myself, when I go to high school, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna, I think football, base was gonna get me out of this mess.
Right.
And didn't make it to high school. You know, I didn't make it to high school in the summer of '94. I was dating a girl from the neighborhood, and it was the summer, and one day I went to her house, which was literally a few blocks away, but in a rival neighborhood.
Hold on. They're always in the rival neighborhood. I don't know why, Vic.
Well, her stepbrothers lived over there. She lived in my neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
So she told me, well, come over tomorrow. I'm going to be at my stepbrother's house. And, in the daytime, I'm not thinking really nothing of it. And around that time, 94, there was a lot of conflict with rival gangs.
Right.
I think about a month before that, they had shot at me, and we had shot at another gang, and there was a lot of back and forth.
Right.
And so, I woke up that morning around, 10 morning, I went over there, and, as I'm walking to her house, I crossed the street, and I seen some cholillos going to the store to my left. And they seen me, bro. They seen me, but they went around and tried to catch me, and I ran into the store, and salieron another 4 came out, and they started trying to come into the store, and I started grabbing whatever I could from the store and se los tiraba. I was scared for my life.
Absolutely.
One of them came out with a big old knife, and I told the guy, call the police, and somebody said the police is coming. They pointed, I ran. That was Monday or Tuesday, I believe. Wednesday, I didn't go. Thursday, I went back again over there, and nothing happened. I think it was Friday. I waited till Friday, bro. I waited till Friday over there to go. I liked the girl. So, I was...
Bien dice mi mamá que más mueve un par de aquellas que un par de güeyes.
Listen, I was 15, and it was some puppy love.
Right.
I said, I'll go
and
again.
They call it
right? Yeah.
Love.
So,
hold on, real quick, Vic. So I wanna tell you guys, Vic is very music orientated. So like he relates a lot with music. You told us that Colors was a big influence in your life.
Right.
So let's do something. Let's set the scene. Let's hear titles that you're listening to. Let's hear what was the estilo back then? Like, what were you wearing? You know what I mean? Like, let's paint a picture.
That day in '94.
Right.
That day in '94, I was wearing some jeans.
Creased up.
Yeah, creased up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I'm gonna go see my girl.
Yeah.
I had some Chuck Taylors.
All right.
And I had a jersey. I forgot the jersey.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had a white T-shirt.
Okay.
I had a white T-shirt. And I had my hair back, una hair. It was '94. I was straight cholillo.
Right.
So, and always bumping my oldies that time.
Yeah. Because you were in love. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So that was my dress code back then.
A song that you remember that you dedicated to her, or something that you would bump, like a song specifically.
Oh man, that's a good one. It's the name of the oldie I forgot. But a lot of Brenton Wood.
A lot of Brenton Wood. It has to be.
A lot of Brenton
Rest
Wood.
in peace.
Yeah. That's funny because my big homies used to make fun of us because we used to listen to rap. They were like, "Oh, you guys always bumping that, and we don't bump that over here." But then when I got older, bro, I looked at Brenton Wood, and when I found him on YouTube, he was a brother.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Okay.
And the big homies used to always make fun of us of listening to rap.
Because of the okay. I get it. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you guys were doing
like, in other words, they thought that's black music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they live, but I mean, oldies, R&B,
But
that's
it comes from black. So I thought that was funny now growing up.
Okay.
But I think that's the spell we're under, because even before I got locked up, I think, subconsciously, you prepare yourself to go to the penitentiary. You prepare yourself to do life without parole. You prepare yourself to die for your neighborhood.
Right.
And it's crazy that we used to think like that.
Right.
I didn't see myself living past 21. I could not imagine that.
So what happened that Friday?
So that Friday I woke up, and right before I left the house, I looked in the kitchen. My mom had a butcher knife right there. Big old butcher knife. And I remember I grabbed it, bro, and I put it right here on the side of my belt. And I went to visit my girlfriend, and I picked her up, and this time we're walking back to my house. On the way back, I crossed paths with a rival gang member, and so it was just me and him. And I don't know why, bro. To this day, I've come to peace with that, but I chased him, I cut him off, and what I wanted to do in my mind, I wanted to stab him like in the movies. When you stab somebody, and that's it.
Right.
But I stabbed him like that with a butcher knife.
Right.
And the butcher knife went all the way.
Oh, wow.
And I heard the jersey he had, se rompió. I could hear it ripped. And I heard him gasp for air. And so he busted a right. He almost fell down. I busted a left. And I went and got rid of the knife, and he ran. He almost fell in some bottles, and that was it. I thought, cool, I put in some work. I ran back to my neighborhood, and I bumped into one of the big homies, and I told him what happened, and he was a tecato, a junkie, heroin addict, and he said, don't tell me nothing, just go home and change. And I went home, I changed, and my girlfriend came, but she ended up going back. No, she ended up going back home. We felt the tension in the area,
right?
Because it was about a mile away from where I lived,
right?
But about an hour later, bro, I go to the store and I come back, and I'm eating Cheetos and a drink, and a cop car pulls up undercover, and they put my hands in the hood and search me, and they had a list of names. They're highlighting them, and I tell my nickname and my name, and they search me, and they tell me, hey, we're looking for somebody just got killed down the street. I didn't know he had died at that moment. So
that was the first time you hear that he had passed.
Yeah.
Wow. And how'd that hit you?
Bro, to this day, when I watch 48 Hours, the show 48 Hours, when I hear them, they're going through the confession and all that, I get like that same feeling what I experienced at that moment. My stomach fell down to my knees, and my life flashed in my eyes, and I thought to myself, I got my hands in the hood, and I'm thinking, damn, I'm gonna go to prison for the rest of my life. To this day, I don't know how the cops didn't read my face.
Right.
They did, and they let me go.
There was guilt written all over that face, huh?
Bro, they didn't read that.
Yeah.
Maybe again, I think subconsciously we prepare ourselves for these type of moments.
Right.
So they let me go. I ended up went home. When the sun was going down, I go to the neighborhood. I go to where we hang out, to the corner. And I remember I bumped into one of my homeboys, and I told him what I did. And he said, well, don't tell no one, right? And And everybody's talking about it in the corner right there where we used to hang out at the store. Everybody's talking about it. I left. I came back about an hour later. When I came back, the homie that I told everybody.
Damn. The one that told you not to tell.
Yeah, he told everybody. You know how I know? Because when I came back again, everybody was giving me this.
Props.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that moment, bro, I was on top of the world.
I bet.
At that moment, I was on top of the world. This is why I put in work. The recognition, the love, the
stripes.
The stripes. You know, the pat in the back, the fear.
Right.
The intimidation now, you know, I took a life.
They were going to know from that moment that you were not somebody to mess with.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I was one of the youngsters, so I always had something to prove.
Right.
You know, at that moment, I felt that I proved myself, and word got around that it was me. And I got picked up by the homicide detectives.
So real quick, there's gonna be people obviously watching that don't come from the lifestyle, that might not understand what we're saying right now. That is your golden ticket.
Right.
Your stripes, you know, you putting in work in the neighborhood. That's what gets you, you know, all the recognition, the credit, you know, it's like that means you could walk not only tall, but you know, it's like people, we call it respect, but we know what it really is fear.
Right.
You know, it's like, no, pues ese vato está loco. We're not, you know what I mean? We're not gonna mess with that fool.
Right.
You know, it's like, that's really what it is. But when you grow up in a neighborhood like that where, you know, unless you're like hustling, you know, there's not really, you know, money flowing, you know what I mean? So it's like all you have is your palabra and your reputation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and you literally risk your life for your reputation.
Right.
You know, it's like, and you know, in a lot of cases to gain that reputation, you have to take life.
Right.
You know, so it's like, let's put that into content. Like, you know, you and me, you know, we come from similar backgrounds, so we could breeze over that. But, you know, it's like, let's let the viewers know,
Absolutely.
you know, it's like what that really means, you know, how much vindication you get.
Absolutely.
You know, and at that age, you know, it's like how much sense of mortality do we really have? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we might be surrounded by death, but I mean, it's like, I'm pretty sure, you know, you're right there with me. You know, by the time you're 18, how many funerals did you go to?
Couple.
You know what I mean? Right. It's like, man, like, you know, I'm from a bigger city. You know, it's like, so there's guys falling off all the time, bro.
Right.
You know, it's like, and you know, it becomes, you know, your immature mindset, you know, doesn't know how to fully grasp forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're gone forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you really don't know what that means.
Right.
You know, it's like, so in a lot of ways, it makes it easier for you to play with life. You know, it's like, and take life and, you know, literally take life, you know, into your own hands.
Right.
You know, but yeah, so then from there, what happens next with the detectives?
Well, they picked me up and they asked me, hey, we heard it's you. There's rumor going around. And they picked me up, bro, and they took me to the station and they interviewed me for like 20 minutes and they dropped me back off. They actually dropped me off in front of the homies. And the homies were like, what's going on? Nothing. And then the next day, well, actually that night, I remember that night I went home. And, you know, the rumors going around the neighborhood.
Right.
You know, people coming up to me that have never came up to me before. Are you okay? You need something, like older people. And I felt the, you know, I felt the love at that moment.
Right.
I felt it. I felt my mom's love as well because she asked me what happened. You know, when I went home that night, she asked me what happened. And I told her what happened. And she showed me love by telling me what I thought was love. She showed me by asking me, do you want me to send you to Mexico? And I'm like, no, I'm staying here. You know, I got a girlfriend. I'm not going nowhere. But at that time, I felt loved by my mom because my mom nunca.
She showed concern.
She showed concern.
Right.
You know, for her to risk herself and life for me and send me to Mexico to keep me free, that to me was love, bro.
Right.
You know, so I told her, no, I'll deal with it. And, you know, I didn't tell her everything what happened. The next day I woke up and my mom was outside with an older homeboy. You know, he had just got out of prison, and he wasn't even supposed to be there,
Right.
because he had joined another prison gang that wasn't part of the city,
Okay.
if you will, you know. So he had risked himself to go there and talk to me through my mom. And what he told me to do changed things a lot, right? He told me, hey, go get that shirt you had on and get a knife and cut yourself. So I did, me puse la camisa, I put that shirt on, and I grabbed the knife, little blade, and I cut myself.
Self-defense.
Right. Right. And then the detectives picked me up 2 more times. The second time, they had me for like 5 hours, no water, no bathroom, and I confessed, and I told them, listen, I did it. You know, I did it, but this is why. And I showed them the cut. They took pictures. They arrested me. I went to juvenile. Not one time did I think about my victim. I was just thinking about myself.
Right.
I didn't think about, at that time, they were preparing a funeral for that young man. The mom crying, the father wondering what happened. Not one time did I think about that.
So at this point, there's no remorse. There's no you felt like you did what you had to do.
I'm 15, bro.
Yeah.
I can't comprehend that.
Right.
I can't comprehend that.
You can't process that.
Process that.
Right. Forever is hard to process.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm 15, and because of my age, they try to certify me as an adult. They couldn't. The law changed in '95. If you commit a crime, you know, chances are if you commit a violent crime, chances are you are going to get certified. I committed my crime in '94.
Okay.
Right before they changed it, bro.
You think they changed that law because of you?
No. I just happen to be lucky. But I remember growing up, even the homeboys telling me, if you're going to do something, do it now when you're young.
Okay.
You know, I remember being told, do you remember that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but you better get your work in before you turn 18.
Yeah, they used us that we'd be the first ones because we were young.
We call them torpedoes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the law changed, and I didn't get certified. My lawyer came into my cell one day, and she said they gave me 40 years.
Okay.
I punched the wall, started crying. I was like, 40 years? I'm 15. I'm going to do 40 years. So she came back, and they had a deal for me, voluntary manslaughter.
Okay.
So I took it. They ended up giving me a 2 to 5.
Okay.
I ended up doing 6 years out of that. I went in at 15. I got out at 21.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I was in there from the age of 15 to 21. You know, I had never been intimate with a woman, and I didn't know how to drive a car when I got out.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you were like straight American me, bro. You remember in American Me,
what
like
part though?
No. Okay, yeah, not the juvie scene.
Okay.
Not the juvie scene, but you know, coming
when
out.
He got out.
Yeah, when he gets out, you know, he had never been with a woman.
Right.
You know, she teaches him how to drive a car. Right, you know what I mean, stuff like that.
And even I remember that part when he talked to him. Don't look at me like that.
Right.
That part.
Yeah. Look at me when you're talking to me. Yeah.
Even like that, bro. That you know, you become, your head becomes big.
Yeah. Institutionalized.
Institutionalized.
Right.
You know, and from the moment I got there, I was groomed to be, I always tell people, I started my management of people when I was 16, 17. Okay. Because I was placed with the main guy there. And so he was grooming me to take his place. Right. So that was my school. From 15 to 21.
So you get sentenced. You go to state prison. I'm guessing
juvenile prison.
Juvenile
like
prison.
A YA.
Okay, like a YA in Cali. Okay,
in Texas.
Okay, and so you're with under 21, under 18.
Under 21.
Under 21.
Under 21. And
when you get there, you program up. Like it's just
program up, yeah.
Like they hit you up. You show paperwork. And you basically you're another soldier now.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to get with the program. But you say that basically a shot caller took you under his wing.
Right.
What do you think that shot caller saw in you? Like why you?
Again, I think I've been preparing myself for this experience ever since I was little.
Right.
You know, maybe from the movies, maybe from the people I looked up to. I always wanted to be influential. I always wanted to, you know, be somebody.
Okay.
You know, to this day, it's part of who I am. I always want to. I do want to make a difference in this world. Right. But at that time, my life consisted of gangs and violence.
Right.
That's all I knew. So that's what I wanted to accomplish. Be a down person. You know,
right.
Whatever it took.
Okay. And so you never go to prison. You do your whole time in this YA program.
Right.
All right. So what was it like when you got out? What was, I mean, besides like, you know, obviously look at me when you're talking to me and like, you know, that whole mindset, you know, how was it for you, you know, to transition into, or what was your transition like?
The day I got out from the juvenile prison, I was handcuffed and they gave me my papers, and I happened to open the papers and I looked at my file, and my file said I had a 73% chance of coming back.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I leave El Paso, I get, they take the handcuffs in Arizona, and I get to Vegas. And I'm here with my mom. My mom moved here. So they moved here after I committed that crime because they were afraid they were in danger.
Right.
So they moved right away within a month. They all moved over here to Vegas. And so I moved over here too. I came over here. My mom's over here. My brother's over here.
This is late 90s?
This is 99 when I got out. I got out here in Vegas on August 30th, 1999.
Okay.
So a couple months before New Year's.
Right.
Yeah.
Around the same time that my family moved out here.
Yeah. Because I have family coming here for construction.
Yeah. You know, my people came out here for the casino jobs.
Yeah, for the casino jobs.
Joined the union and all that.
Yeah.
So again, let's relate it, you know, back to music, back to what was the scene like, you know, when you come out, what do you start listening to? You know, what do you see that's different from, you know, 93, 94
right.
to 99, you know, as far as style, music, all that?
That's a good question because, you know, when in El Paso is more like southern LA.
Okay.
I mean, southern Cali.
Right.
You know, the cholo style, the rap, the Chicano, the oldies, the culture, the dress. But then when you go to East Texas, bro, it's more like northern Cali.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a mixture of Hispanics and the African community, the blacks, the brothers,
right.
you know? And so I met dudes over there that are Chicanos, but talk like the guys from Houston.
Okay.
And I grew up around a lot of those dudes from Houston, from Dallas. And I picked up some of their ways and lingos. And so I got released. When I got released, I didn't feel like I was from El Paso anymore. I felt like, you know, I experienced the world a little bit. So
let me share something with you as far as like Southern Cali culture. Everybody thinks Southern Cali culture is what you see in the movies, right? American Me, you know, everybody thinks that in LA, the Mexicans are all in East LA.
Right.
That's not true. You know what I mean? It's like my hood is from South Central.
Right.
There is a lot of, you know, mixing, if you want to put it that way, with African Americans, you know, with blacks. It's not positive mixing. You know, there's a lot of conflict.
Right.
But as far as the cultures are concerned, you know, it's like you definitely pick up from each other. You know, it's like if you see las portadas, you know, from NWA,
right.
You know, they're dressing in Dickies, you know, creased up, cuffed up, you know, the Cortezes, you know, and like a lot of that stuff, like we both did that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the lingo gets, you know, intertwined. You know, it's like I have met people that are from, you know, that area that are closer. Because South Central is divided, you know, between blacks and Mexicans, right? But, you know, you might be Mexican and live in a black neighborhood or the other way around, right? So I've met people that are from South Central. I met black people that are from South Central, but they speak a little Spanish.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you know, we use, you know, their lingo too.
Right.
You know, if you're Mexican, you're from South Central, you're using the N-word. You know, it's like, period, bro. You know, it's like, because that's, you know, it's part of the culture, bro.
Even back then?
Even back then, bro. Wow. You know, it's like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, people have that misconception that all the Mexicans are in East LA.
Right.
and they all talk, hey, what's up, Holmes? You know, it's like we don't all talk like that in LA. You know, and it's like not only that, that's old school.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like maybe a lot of the older homies don't use, you know, black lingo, but you know, from my generation and on, like definitely, you know, and it's because, you know, we go back to music.
Right.
You know, it's like we grew, I can't remember there not ever being gangster rap, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, and of course, generations after me, of course not, you know? So it's like, of course you hear, you know, in the rap song, you hear the lingo and you're like, man, that's cool.
Right.
You know, so it's like you start mimicking that stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like just like how, you know, a lot of black people from LA, they love Mexican food, dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and they'll break it down to you, bro. They know Mexican food better than some Mexicans. You know what I mean? And you know, it's like they hear a ranchera come out and, you know, un grito mexicano. You know what I mean? It's like, cause you know, it's like it's all intertwined.
Right.
You know, it's like I said, it hasn't always been positive, but you know, there's also, you know, families that have come out of the two, you know, races. You know, it's like you see a lot of mixed kids now.
Right.
You know, it's like, because again, you know, it's like for some reason that girl that you like always lives on the wrong side of town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so you get to Vegas and what was there like a culture shock moment?
No, I think just you know, I leaned on my family.
Okay.
And I had a lot of family here. We get together and we have barbecues and little parties, quinceañeras. So it wasn't that difficult for me to transition out, right? I think it became difficult when after 2-3 months of not being able to find employment, that things started becoming a little bit hectic for me. One time I started arguing with my mom over something, I don't know what, and I ended up leaving. And I went to my aunt's house, which was about 2 miles from my mom's house. And on my way there, bro, I see some kids walking towards the building and they had backpacks like they were going to gym. And I guess they were going to a boxing gym.
Okay.
Right? So I follow them. I go into the boxing gym and I walk in and, you know, I start training and they threw me in the ring, I think, the first week. And, you know, I was getting my butt kicked, but I was kicking some butt too. And I always liked that. And
so give us a reference, like as far as location, like what part of Vegas?
By Rancho High School. It was a Golden Gloves gym.
Go Rams.
Yeah. You know Rancho?
I graduated from Rancho.
What year?
05.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my brother did too back in, I want to say 02, 03.
Okay.
I think so. Shout out to my brother.
Yeah.
But my tia lived down the street from there. And so I ended up going to the gym, started boxing. And for the next 4 years, that was my life at that point in my life.
Right.
You know, just going to the gym, training, working out. I wasn't smoking, drinking. My only issue at that time was women.
Okay.
That was my only, because I was virgin. I was, you know, plus I was good looking. I'm like, I'm gonna have fun.
Right.
But boxing was my first love. You know, I was doing real good. I became a hot prospect in the city, and I tried to sign with some promotional companies, but we couldn't figure out the contract. And eventually, after the 05.
So what you're telling me is that you were good.
Yeah, I was good. Yeah, after the 05 Olympic qualifications, I stopped. You know, once I couldn't make it, I lost, and then you know, I just put that in the back burner.
Okay.
And that was 2005.
So you like real life El Gallo Negro.
Yeah.
The baddest
like
Chicano in the barrio.
Yeah, I was doing good. I was doing good, bro. And I think boxing at that time, that's why I'm still involved in boxing. I think boxing at that time in my life saved me.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I had a 73% chance of going back.
Right.
And that chance usually happens around the first 2 to 3 years of that person being released.
Okay.
Now I know that.
Right.
You know, at the time I didn't know that.
Right.
I didn't know I was giving myself a chance to stay free. You know, but I remember when I read that paper, that stuck in my head, bro. And I was determined not to go back. You know, and so from 2000 and 2005, that's what my life was about.
So you were determined not to go back por tus aquellos, not because, you know, or because of boxing.
Well, that helped me.
Right.
That gave me a way out. Absolutely.
Okay.
That gave me a way out, bro. That gave me discipline, dedication. You know, kept me away from the drugs.
So when your boxing career, you know, wraps up, you know, where are you, you know, mentally at that point?
Mentally, I have high self-esteem.
Okay.
I feel good about myself.
So it didn't hit you hard to have to leave that? You know, it's like in a certain way, give up on that dream?
So at that moment, I was transitioning out of that because I joined a lowrider car club.
Okay.
And so I had something that kept me busy, bro.
Right.
You know, but now that I kind of retired from boxing, I was smoking a little bit of weed.
Okay.
I was drinking a little bit. I was being a little loose with my diet. And in the back of my mind, I thought, I'm going to go back. And so what happened one time, I was working at this gas station, right, on Eastern and 95.
Okay.
I don't know if you know where that's at.
Of course.
You know, and I ended up working there while I was boxing, you know, and I ended up moving to my own apartment, and I was living, life was okay, bro, you know. And one time this güerita walks in, the original BBG.
All right. For real quick, a reference, we use certain terminologies. We'll get to all that stuff. But BBG, some of us call it a triple B. But the first two is big booty, and then you guys can fill out the rest.
Big booty girls, right?
Right.
And so she walked in, and una güerita, and, you know, I had a line of people. I was at the cashier, and she's like, I need 40 on 5. And I was trying to get at her.
Right.
So I couldn't, and she went outside, and the counter cleared up, and I remember a pump stop, or a pump. And you know, I could see the pump stopping, and she looked, and she came inside, and she said, hey, something happened with my gas. It's not pumping. And I look over there, and I'm like, are you good? You know, so I push the button to start it again, and I go out there and I help her. And I'm pumping her gas, and she got my number. And so she kind of knew what I did. You know, I was trying to set that moment up for the number. And yeah, she called me about a couple months later. And longer story short, we had 2 daughters.
Oh,
yeah, 2 daughters. And so now I'm transitioning from.
So you definitely pumped her gas.
Yes. So I'm transitioning from, you know, boxing life to transitioning from a single man as well to moving in with her, right? Living with her. And she has a stepdaughter. And now I don't have a purpose in life. You know, I'm thinking my purpose is it's going to be family. And now I'm smoking more. You know, she got pregnant. I'm working construction. I'm experimenting with, for the first time ever, I think I was like 27 with ecstasy.
Okay.
Mushrooms, you know, and smoking weed. You know, then one time I hurt my back. And I got introduced to Lortabs and Percocets, painkillers. And I'm not educated in these drugs, bro. I'm thinking it's just...
Right. Well, I mean, you see a prescription and you're thinking, I must be all right.
Doctor, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so I ended up going to the doctor, and the doctor prescribed me 120 pills one time, and I became addicted to the pills.
Right.
You know, and I lost my way with myself. I became very addicted to the pills. And then she got pregnant with like I said, we had our first daughter. And things were okay, bro. Things were okay. And then...
as far as you two?
As far as us, the family, I became a family man. And I'm still dealing with my own personal things that are now coming to surface, like my anger, my resentment, my relationships with my family.
Right.
And now I'm passing that on with her through my kids, and you know, and now we're bumping heads, me and her, a little bit. And, you know, I'm self-medicating myself through the painkillers, through the Lortabs. You know, I'm self-medicating myself, and I'm working construction, and I ended up getting a little side hustle.
Okay.
I had a car wash, a little detail business.
Okay.
So I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing well. I'm still trying to be the best that I can be for her and for my newborn daughter. One time when I was going to work, like 4:30 in the morning, I go to the cuna, to the little where she's laying at, and I picked up my daughter. And at that moment, bro, I thought to myself, if anything would happen to my daughter, if anybody ever touches my daughter, I'm gonna kill that person. And when I left, I started reflecting on the person that I killed when I was 15. I started thinking about his mom and his dad in the same way that I was thinking about my daughter holding her.
Right.
And it did something to me, bro. I think it stirred up a lot of trauma within me, a lot of resentment. And so when I was popping pills, it was just here and there. You know, it wasn't here. It was just here and there. My drug use became more. I started popping pills more. I started experimenting with more often with the ecstasy, with weed. I started doing more of that, to the point where now I cheated on the mother of my kids. You know, I cheated on her, and she found out, and then we tried to work it out one more time, and she got pregnant again, and we had our second daughter. But by that time, our relationship was very shaky. It was very volatile. We weren't getting along, and then she had a stepdaughter, and so things really got rough for me. And I remember many times having to leave her house because, you know, I'm living at her house.
Right.
You know, it's not my house. So anytime we get into it, I got to leave. You know, I got to leave before the cops get there.
Right.
Because if they get there, they're going to arrest me for domestic violence, or they're just going to tell me to leave.
Right.
And so I would go to my mom's and enseñar la cara, you know, show my face. And that was very... degrading, bro. It was tough for me, having to go back home and, you know, can I spend the night, or, you know, and that resentment just kept building up more towards the mother of my kids.
Right. And the way that you dealt with, you know, that was through using. Through
Anger, through, you know, other women.
Okay.
You know, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know nothing, bro. I didn't have no kind of emotional intelligence. I was just in survival mode.
Right.
You know, I was trying to feel better at that moment, and I didn't care what happened.
Okay.
You know.
So so you saw, I mean, in the midst of the decline, did you know, like, were you aware of the decline, or were you just like going along for the ride?
Both.
Yeah.
You know, I could see myself, you know, having to move out. You know, my relationship with my family wasn't good. My daughters too, and their mother. And my mental health wasn't healthy. I wanted to kill myself.
Oh, wow.
You know, and then I would get hotel rooms, and binge, and wondering how did I wake up. You know, so it became worse, and I knew it was becoming worse, but I didn't care, bro. I think the resentment I had for myself, for what I did when I was 15, took over. You know, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, and I sure didn't know nothing about self-forgiveness, or much less about self-love.
Right. So at that point, you think that the guilt starts to weigh on you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I mean, so if we go back to what we're talking about, you know, at a certain age, or what, specifically at, you know, you at 15 couldn't grasp, you know. It's like it took you becoming a father, you know, knowing what a father's love was for, you know, their kid, to be able to put that into perspective. And of course, not knowing how to process it. Right. So the way that you process, or lack of processing, was to try to, you know, self-medicate.
Yeah. Self-medicate.
Yeah. But so, you know, you're in this downward spiral. But I know that fighter spirit didn't completely leave, because I mean, you've you know, from what you have shared with me, you know, you started working on the strip.
That was after we split up.
Okay.
So we split up, and I always tell this story in the way that, you know, after we split up, you know, I ended up moving back to my mom's house, and she ended up moving on. And I remember my homeboy called me, my good friend called me, hey, I got a little thing going on the strip, come check it out. And I was looking for something. I needed to make some money. I needed to just continue to survive. right? Because I had moved out, and I needed to get out of that situation I was in. I needed to fix myself. And so he told me to come check out this little operation. And so I went on the strip, and it was him and his best friend. And what they were doing is they were recruiting people to go to the strip club. But that was just a cover-up. What they were doing, they were selling coke and pills.
Okay.
On the strip.
Right.
So when I got there, I made a little bit of money that night, and I seen the potential.
Right.
I seen the potential, and as like I told you, I had always been groomed to run things, to do something with you, right? And I seen it, bro. I seen the vision right there, and I told the homeboy, listen, I'll help you with this, but that dude you got here, he got to go.
Right.
Because that dude was just...
You knew he was no good.
No good.
Right.
And so he got rid of him, and he let me take over the operation. And he already had plugs on the strip, people he buys stuff from, and he had customers, so I just took over.
Right.
I took over, and we started doing the same thing. And he had some friends in California. And, I remember I had the car wash business, right? Now I had the car wash business, and I said, you know what? If I'm gonna sell the car wash business, and I bought a couple ounces of coke, and now I'm on the strip full time, right? I'm on the strip full time, not really knowing what I was getting myself into. I always look at it like the devil presented to me a contract.
Right.
He said, listen, man, I got this thing that's gonna make you feel better about life. You're gonna become street famous. You're gonna make a lot of money. You're gonna meet a lot of women, and you're gonna forget about this heartbreak with the mother of your kids, and you're gonna be okay.
Okay.
And I signed it. I signed the contract of the devil.
When you signed that contract, what was the name you put on that contract? Can we share that?
I put Nino Brown.
That's right.
I put Nino Brown, and I signed it, but at the bottom it said, you might die from this. I didn't care about that.
You didn't care about the fine print.
I didn't care about none of that because I was going through so much pain from the separation of my kids, bro. Right? From the separation that I didn't care what it took.
Right.
I didn't care. So yeah, I signed that contract. I signed that contract happily, and things did change for me. I did start making money. I did started, I started. What I ended up doing is I ended up bringing some of the guys from California, from LA, because they were his homeboys. We got an apartment. We got a couple apartments, and we set up shop. We set up shop, and now we're distributing cocaine on the strip. Right now we're distributing escorts on the strip.
Okay.
I got a couple phones. I got a couple guys with me. The bad thing is they brought their LA mentality with them.
The LA fools.
Right. And so that we started calling each other by our street names on the strip.
Right.
And I said, listen, one day we called it the compound because it was an apartment and it was a house with like 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
And we lived there. And it was a trap house though.
Right.
But we had to call it the compound.
Right.
We had to come up with a name. I told the guy, listen, we cannot be calling each other our street nicknames out here on the strip, right? And the movie New Jack City was playing on the screen.
Right.
Because I would always put those type of movies for the guys to watch before we went out to the strip.
Get them motivated.
Right. And the movie was playing, and I liked the character, Nino Brown, because Nino, but then Brown because, I'm Mexican.
Right.
So I made that connection. I said, well, I don't know what name you guys going to take, but I'm going to take Nino Brown.
Right.
And a couple of other guys got different names, and we started calling each other by our strip name now.
Right.
And another thing that I was able to implement with those guys was we started calling the bags of cocaine, we started calling them tickets.
Okay.
So we'd be on the phone, I need 3 tickets, instead of being, hey, I need 3 bags of cocaine. Because at this time, the undercovers were onto us.
Okay.
They were pulling us over. They were checking the car. They were checking our person, and they were arresting us, and they couldn't find nothing.
All right. You want to tell us why they couldn't find nothing on you? How you would?
Well, I found ways to hide them. I got these cards, and I told you a story.
Yeah.
That's how you remember? So I used to have some business cards.
Okay.
Right? And with labels. I had the labels, and I would put the bag of cocaine right here, and I put the label on top, and I put a random name and number. And so the undercover cops come and get me. They arrested me. They were like, "We know you got something on you." I'm like, "I don't got nothing." And they'll grab the cards and they'll throw it on the ground, bro. One time they throw them on the ground, and they took me to the county jail, and they searched me twice. They were so mad at me because they couldn't find nothing that they me golpearon.
Right.
You know, they me golpearon. They sucker punched me a couple times, and they couldn't find nothing. They let me go. I get back to the strip right before the sun is coming out, and the landscapers are blowing the leaves.
Right.
I get to the floor, and I find my business cards, and I find my stash on the cards.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
They never caught me with nothing.
Yeah.
They never caught me with nothing. They arrested me one time. They did a sting operation, and they arrested me at Planet Hollywood, and I had like 10 bags on my socks, and so that's how I caught my case.
Okay.
First case out there.
So eventually the stuff did hit the fan.
Eventually, I think we lasted about 3 years. We did good about 3 years. 2009, 2010, 11, and 12. 13 was our most profitable year. Mm-hmm. I think I made the tally up amongst all of us. We almost made $100,000 that year.
Oh wow!
They went a couple times to Cali to get the product. You know, I ran it like a business.
Right.
You know, I was very low key. I didn't consume none of the tickets or nothing. The guys did. They had fun.
Right.
But I was very focused on, let me make some money and let me get out of this.
You didn't get high in your own
No,
supply.
I didn't get high on my supply.
All right.
You know, I took a lot of pride in that.
Right.
But my vision was to make a little money, bro, and get out. But 1 year turned into 2 years, turned into 3 years. Then I cut the case. And then in 2015, I ended up getting violated. They violated me for that probation case I had. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going to prison for about a couple years. So
again, to put it into context for the people that are not from the lifestyle, you know, a lot of us go into, you know, sales with that mentality. You know, it's like, I'm gonna do it for a little while. You know, I'm gonna get my money right. I'm gonna invest in legit stuff. You know, it's like, I mean, honestly, the things that you see in movies. You know, it's like, but you know, one thing that people that never have lived it don't realize is that you don't only like the money because the money is great, but you fall in love with the lifestyle.
You fall in love with the lifestyle.
You know, it's like, so it makes it even harder to leave that behind. Mm. You know, it's like, you know, yeah, you probably started off with, I'm gonna make, you know, X amount, or I'm gonna do it X amount of time. But then, you know, it's like, you're Nino Brown, baby. You know, it's like, and it's like, that's hard to, you know, it's like, that alone is hard to turn your back on,
right,
let alone the money.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, you know, it becomes your identity, bro.
Right.
You're Nino Brown. You're the man that stands in the same corner day after day. You're consistent. You're reliable. You know, you ended up thinking that you're like an athlete out there.
Right.
You know, saludando, hey, you know, I'm at the corner and everybody's coming to me for stuff, and I got the hookup, I got the women, I got the product. Right. You know, I'm hanging out at the clubs. I'm hanging out I'm driving in limos. I'm being driven around the limos. So you put your value on that image, on that personality that you create. Okay. You know, sometimes I would get tired of being Nino Brown.
Right.
I'm an introvert, bro. I just want to be left alone and let me just make my money.
Right.
But when you cultivate that character, now you got to live up to that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so when I ended up going to prison, it was a break that I needed.
Okay.
Right? I ended up going to prison. I caught a case in there, caught a charge. They sent me to Ely. Ely is the maximum security prison here in the state of Nevada.
Okay.
So now imagine me, bro. I'm up there within a month after I get transferred, and I get up there to Ely, and I'm looking on the tier, and I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, just 2 months ago, I was on the strip, hanging out with Charlie Sheen, selling him cocaine, hanging out in the Paris casino hotel, making money, having fun. Now I'm up here in Ely with death row inmates.
Right. You went from being Nino Brown to inmate 0053.
Unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable. But I remember that. I think that's where my foundation started for change.
Okay.
Right? Seeing what the other men were doing. A lot of the other guys in there were just watching TV, letting the time do them.
Right.
At that moment when I went in there, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to use this time to better myself.
Right.
You know, so I started reading books and working out, and just that helped me stay to myself.
Right.
I ended up doing the years in solitary confinement up there, and I got released. You know, now I'm at my mom's house. You know, I went from living by myself, living at the compound. I had 2 cars. You know, I had the phone, I had the women, the phone always ringing. And so now I'm starting all over again. Again, bro.
Right.
You know, and I started working at a 7-Eleven on Vegas Valley and I think it's Maryland.
Okay.
Horrible job, the worst job I ever had. But because I was determined to stay out, I ended up staying there for about 8 months.
Okay.
And then my parole ended, and I went back to the hustle. I went back to the hustle. But the guys from LA were gone by that time.
Right.
They went back to LA because after I got arrested, the operation crumbled.
Right.
And so they ended up going back. And this time I didn't want to. They were before I got arrested, they started taxing more on the product.
Mm.
And so whenever,
greedy.
as you know, whenever you don't live up to that tax, things can become a little hectic, a little volatile.
Yeah.
With them.
Okay.
So,
they started getting taxed for the product.
Yeah, because they were picking it up in Cali.
I got you.
Right? And so I was feeling the heat, right? So, you know, I think God saved me at that moment, you know, from the drama from that and from the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And then I got locked up. When I got out, they went back to Cali.
Right.
And so this time I told myself, you know, I'm going to try it again, but I'm going to do a little bit different, hustle a little bit different, maybe clean it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting a Lincoln town car, and I started limo driving.
Okay.
So I started being an independent limo driver. But on the side, I was still doing my hustle.
Right.
You know, and
I'm sure your limo clients, a lot of them were clients.
Of course. I'll go pick them up at the airport. Right. I already have something for them.
Right.
Take them to the hotel, and then wait for them downstairs, MGM, Paris, Cosmo, and then go take them to a strip club.
Right.
You know, and that's how I was making my money.
Right.
You know, one night I just focus on one client.
And at this point, where are you as far as, you know, how are you drowning your sorrows?
When I was in Ely, when I was locked up in prison, mm-hmm. I had a cellie that had been there 10 years, and he had another 10 years left. And I used to always tell him stories about the strip. And he's like, "You never done coke?" I said, "I've never done coke, bro. I've never done coke." You know, I'm a businessman. That wasn't my thing. I always took pride in not doing no coke. And he said, "When you get out, bro, I got another 10 years. 10 years. Do a little bit for me." And I don't know why, but I told him, "Okay, I'll do something for you when I get out." And sure enough, when I got out, I think it was actually when my best friend died from an overdose. I tried it that night. It was Valentine's Day, 2016, I believe.
Okay.
I tried it, and I ended up doing I started, bro, I was like a perico.
Right.
Drinking. I don't even drink beer.
That's why they call it that, right?
Right. I was just talking all over the place and smoking and drinking. I don't drink and smoke.
Right.
But I liked it so much that you know, I started doing that. You know, and so I'm still in the game, but I got one foot in, one foot out. You know, and undercovers, the narcos, the narcs, they're still watching me. They're still following me. They're onto me. But again, like I said, I was trying to be slick about it. You know, I would hide that thing under the car. They need like magnet. I would not keep it on me. I would send somebody else. But I knew it was coming to an end.
Okay.
You know, I knew it was coming to an end.
As far as coming to an end, because like you were just not with it no more, or because you just felt the heat. I mean, was it, you know, how did what was the beginning of that, like coming to the end?
Coming to the end was I wanted to be legit, bro.
Okay.
I wanted to be legit. I didn't want to watch over my back. You know, I wanted to be a regular person.
Did you see the, you know, whatever you were using, did you see that taking, you know, too much of a hold on your life? Like, what was...
Well, looking back now, I've always been an addict.
Okay.
Now I know that.
Right.
But at that time, it wasn't. I was what they call a functional addict. As long as money was coming in, I can buy me a little something for me.
Mm.
You know, so I didn't feel like I needed to stop or get help.
Okay.
I didn't feel that at all.
But obviously there was you know, something clicked, you know. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think we've covered, you know, pretty much what led you to where you're at, you know, what all the things that led to that turning point.
Right.
We're gonna leave them in suspense for now.
Right.
Because obviously the man that we have before us is not Nino Brown.
Right.
We're going to come back next time, guys. Vic is going to tell us how he turned his life around. So I'm not going to thank you yet. Stay tuned. We still have a lot of things to talk about. Yeah. But for now, mi gente, we out.
Pa' mi gente, el original, el papá de los demás. Y pa' que no les quede duda, se los voy a deletrar. Soy el GR1ZZLY, soldado mexicano al grito de guerra. Porta Loki, Wich, la Bochli, que